morning student. I am architect Pallavi Sharma from Galgotias University from the School of Architecture. I am taking this class of site analysis in this presentation. Site analysis is a major part of our architecture design process, and before starting or doing any of the design project in architecture firstly we should do site analysis. So it is a very important part of design in architecture. Now, what we are going to study in this presentation of site analysis. Firstly, we address what site analysis is, how we do site analysis and why we do site analysis, and what are the techniques to do site analysis and what are the factors to be considered during site analysis. These 3-4 things are the major part of this presentation. So we are going to cover these factors in coming slides. What site analysis is? In architecture, site analysis is the process of evaluating a particular location physically, mentally or socially, or means social characteristic, with the ambition of developing an architecture solution that will both address and enhance its internal and external context. So, clear? Why should we do site analysis? To enhance and to provide an architecture solution for a particular thing in a particular way. So site analysis is a very main part to address the things. To develop a project of any merits, its site must first be measured. Every site, as we all know that, every site is unique and will consist of many complex elements such as varying topography, water courses, trees, plants, habitats and weather patterns, all of which will and should influence architect design process and decision making. The appropriate analysis of these elements will initially help determine the building placements, orientation, from form and materiality, but then later go on to influence its structure, sustainability and procurement route also, providing a very vital and crucial starting point for any architecture project. Site analysis plays a very important part of any architecture design in architecture. Now, how should we start site analysis? Referred and referenced to throughout the design and construction process, the below list highlights some of the key areas that should be investigated, along with the examples of how site analysis recording can be presented. The features which should be addressed first is the geographical location of a site, site boundary, entrance, locations and types, site security and existing buildings. These are the four or five main things which we should consider first before starting or after starting site analysis. Geographical location is the location where site existed. You have to locate your site on Google Map and then identify your site on Google Maps. Then after identifying the site, you should have visit the site and locate its boundary. You enclosed your area of site and of your site by making boundary of it. Now you have a clear glimpse of your site that my site is here in a Google Map. Now I have to visit the site. After visiting the site, you boundary your site, you make boundary of your site, and then we have to or you have to locate the entrances and types of entrances. Which type of entrances are there in your site? Then we check about the security of the site, if whether or if the site is secured by any means or it is unsecured properly. For example, if the site locate in a natural reserve forest, or if the site located in a outskirt of the city, is there any security things are there or not? Many things we should have to take care of the security things, and according to the things we should further design the security or the things or the design element which should secure our site. So security is also a major feature we should take care in site analysis. And after doing security analysis, we should move forward towards the Locating existing building. If you have to locate, if in your site, within the boundary of your site, is there any existing building or not? If yes, locate them. If not, then it's okay. You should move forward. After locating the above mentioned characteristic, we should locate the neighboring buildings existed around the site. Firstly, we locate the neighboring buildings and then we locate their distances. How the distance is from the site, which building is present in on which distance. For example, one building is existed in 1 kilometer of the site, another one is 2 kilometer, another one is 3 kilometer, or where there is a building which is 500 meter away from the site. So we have to locate these type of buildings. The heights of the building, which height is there, if there is a blockage of view from the heights of the building from the existing neighboring buildings. Uses, which type of building is there. For example, if you are designing a hospital and your site is having community hall or a wedding hall type of building adjacent to your site. So you should take care of these type of building. How should you manage with the things that the banquet will not be disturbed by your site, and hospital is not disturbed by the banquets, because both of the things, both of the buildings are opposite in nature. In a hospital, generally people come with sad faces, and because of the problems in medical health problems. And in banquets, we are in joy, for in a joy mood. So both the buildings have opposite nature, so we have to take care. How do we take care of this? Is a design part, but we should take care of this, which type of building is existed nearby your site. Then uses, I had already told you. After the uses, we should take care of the style of the building. Which type of building is this, and which type of architecture style is followed in a building. For example, whether it is vernacular or modern. So we have to take care of the context of the building. So because we have to respect the architecture style, prevailing architecture style of a region in which your site existed. So we have to design according to the context of your neighboring buildings. And sight lines, we should take care of the sight lines of your site. From which building, which site is sight line is good, which is should be blocked, which is enhanced. So we should take care of the sight lines. Right to light, and the electricity poles and legal restrictions of the site, neighboring buildings, which will be by the government, by the ruling authority of the particular regions. And noise level, which type of building, or the traffic movements, which how much busy your site is, how the noise your site get it. We should take care of all these because before started planning, because we have to develop our concept accordingly. Then comes to bylaws. Bylaws is a guiding things which we have to follow. It is a mandatory thing. We should design according to the bylaw. If FAR is 1, we should design accordingly. If FAR is 2, we should design accordingly. Then legal restrictions are bylaws, conservation areas, whether there you should take care of the conservation areas, whether your site is having any conservation area or archaeological area within your site. So should bylaws will be applicable for these type of area. If for suppose if you have an archaeological area in your site, bylaws of our archaeological areas will apply in your site also. So you should take care of the conservation areas, especially right of the ways. Right of the ways of the roads, you should take care of the right of the ways, how much right of the way you are getting, and which type, how much you need it. So it will be according to the usage of your site. Site of special scientific interest, or is it or not, you should identify it. Listing grade 1, 2 and 1, this is a grading listing of a special scientific interest site. You should check if your site lies or not. Tree preventive preservatives order, how much trees is there in your site. You should locate it, because from according to current bylaws, you can't cut trees from a specific height. You from a there is a special bylaw for a tree cutting. If you cut the tree which is under the bylaws in a protected in nature, you should plant number of trees in replacement of that tree, or you have to transplant that tree. So you should take care of the vegetation also. Previous planning permission and application should also be taken care of in the site analysis. Now comes to connectivity. Connectivity is basically access of your site. You should take care of the accessibility of your site. From where your site is accessible. Is there any public route accessibility in your site? Is there no public transport at your site? You should plan accordingly. Whether vehicle access is there, or only pedestrian access is there, existing circulation route within, how much site is located from the arterial roads, how much is far away from the national highways, how will you connect the site from the city, how will you make people easier to visit your site. So accessibility is a major part of site analysis. You should take care of the accessibility of site, whether the site is accessible or not from the major zones of the city, or it is a cut off part, it is a cut, or it is a cut off part like a village type of site, or if there is no access, then how should you taken care of these accessibility issues in your site. So firstly you have to identify the things. How should you take care of this is a forward thing, for this is a next stage of design. Firstly, the inside analysis, you identify the issues, you identify the problems, then in design you have to give the solutions. So we have to take care of the connectivity also. Yes, topography is also a very important part of the site analysis. Whether the site has slopes, you have to take care of the slope, you have to identify the slope of a site, levels your site, gradients of your sites, exposure of your site, elevations of your site, whether the terrain is hilly, whether they have contour surface, whether the soil is which type of soil is present, which type of foundation you should have given to tackle the site. So topography is also a major consideration in site analysis part. Now comes to the climatology part of the site analysis and views part of the analysis. Views, you have to take care of the site views, from where your site have very nice views, or which type of views is to be hidden for pleasing atmosphere, and which view should be enhanced for giving a nice looks. So views should also be considered. Sun path, you should take care of the sun path of your site, where you have solar gains in your site and where you should have shade in your at your site. So you have to take the sun path of your site as it is shown in this figure. Then we comes to wind patterns. We should have to know about the wind patterns of a site. This is prevailing wind directions, shelter and exposures, and the other winds. We are also have to know about the other wind which will be blown in the monsoon or winter seasons. Public transport links, trees and vegetations. These also be considered in site analysis. When considering local weather patterns, the aim should be always providing a building with the best possible access to solar gains, daylight and shelter. This can be achieved through calculated control of the effect of sun, wind and rainfall, though good positioning of openings and roof linears to provide natural light, warmth and shelter throughout the year. To cool a building, its orientation can pull the circulate cool summer air through its plant by aligning its long axis with the prevailing wind direction, and by providing overhang for shades. But it built volumes can provide shelter and create protected external spaces via courtyards. When using the context to influence materiality, look towards local vernacular also of the surrounding buildings. For example, dry stone walls and cotton steel can be used as a modern interpretation of agriculture buildings and without mimicking. Next, move forward. Now other things to be considered in site analysis, whether there is any restriction in your site restrictions, visibility, light, views, neighbors, pollution, flooding, landslides are which may exist in your site or not. You have to Identify the things, hazards are there or not, or features which you want to expose, or the features you want to hide. I think we have covered almost all the aspects which we have to consider while doing site analysis. Then now I think it is very clear what site analysis is. Site analysis is a preliminary phase of architectural and urban design processes dedicated to the study of climate, geographical, historical, legal, and infrastructural context of a specific site. The result of this analytic process is a summary, usually a graphical sketch, and which sets in relation relevant to environments, information with morphology of the site terms of parcel, topography, and built environment. A number of graphic tools are used for site analysis, have been developed by the designers purposely, and examples of traditional climate related site analysis tool is Sun India.
And I'm going to show you how you will make your site analysis sheet presentable by hand. The things which we should consider during making site analysis is same for the Photoshop or for the hand. If you are doing site analysis from hand, then it's okay. And if then the things are same, the presentation techniques are same basically, but you have to present it on AutoCAD, or you want to Photoshop, or you want to present it from hand. The things we should consider how you present is same for both the medium. If you want to present it by hand, or you want to present it by on Photoshop, or using softwares. Now pay attention to the video. This is just a glimpse of the sheet of the video, how you will make sun path, how will you make the wind direction, how will you make the trees, how will you differentiate between the sun path and the circulation, how should make it clear, and how should you make your sheet self-explanatory. If somebody see your sheets, and then it should be self-explanatory, and the person should be clear by the seeing your sheet. Now the first step is you should download your site from the Google Maps and highlight its boundary, as you see in the picture and the video, that the site boundary is highlighted by the black color, by the bold lines. Then from Google Map, the Google Map is placed behind the sheet or behind the tracing sheet. Then you mark vegetation from the Google Map, which Google Map shows you. You mark it from circle master from hand, and if you doing it from software, then you mark it from circle. There are many tools to mark the vegetation. Then you mark sun path diagram. Sun path diagram should be visible and it should be presentable, and to enhance it you should use two different colors. After the showing sun path, then you will mark your wind direction, and we will always mark wind in a blue color. It is a mandate for a marking winds. It should be self-explanatory. Then if you mark wind from blue color, the arrows from blue color, it should symbolize winds. Then after marking winds and sun path, you should hatch the boundary of your site. The build form in at your site should be hatched, so that it should be visible what is built or what is unbuilt in your site. After marking build portion, you should mark the directions. Sorry, you should mark the dimensions. How much wide is road? How much the building is have distance from each other? Then you mark neighboring things. Then you mark the views from which angle, which view is visible, which view is better, which view is not better. Then you mark entry and exits. Entry and exits are marked by the arrows in red, as you show in a video. Then after marking these things, you should highlight your presentation, and to mark the circulation area. Circulation area is marked in yellow color always. We will mark circulation in yellow color to differentiate between the circulation and sun path, because both are in the yellow color, we make sun path somewhat different to the circulation, and then you highlight, you'll want to add present table mode on your sheet by the trees and vegetation make give a sense of presentation to your sheets of design. After marking all this, we will you will come towards the marking of your vegetation. In this video, the head the things which symbolizes the trees, the circles, we should highlight it, we should give the boundary somewhat, and also give the shadow to make it or visible or to more presentable. Now the your sheet is almost ready, and if another feature is there, you should mark it in your sheet and by the color which is not mixed with the other things. So the any element should not mix with any other element like this, in a video. Now you see in a video how the green colors and how the things are different from each other. This is an example of some site analysis done by a student and site presentation. How you will mark the pedestrians, how will you mark the movement, basically the movements of cars, buses and pedestrians will be marked differently, so that it should be clear by your sheet that where which area, which circulation is which type of, so that car circulation, the vehicular access road and pedestrian access road should be different and should be self-explanatory, so that if anybody sees your sheet, then he should be clear that which is for pedestrian and which is for cars and buses. This is another way to show the streets, how you show main streets and how you show by street. This is totally dependent in you which color you want to choose and which type of presentation you want to choose. But whichever type of presentation is, it should be clear. This is another example on site analysis, how we show the different type of noise. Noise is also the thing which we have to mark on our site, which type of noise your site is having, which highway noise or some student noise or some banquet hall noise or some street noise. You have to mark every type of noise in your sheet of site analysis. This is example of panoramas of your site. Panoramas are, I think, important for your site analysis. You should always remember, if you go to site, whenever you visit the site, you should keep in your mind that you should take the panoramas of your site to recall the things which you see at the time of your visit. So panoramas are the things which help us to identify the things which we see at the time of our visits. Now I think you all would be clear about how we do site analysis, what are the factors we consider before doing site analysis, and what are the things which we use to make our sheet of site analysis more presentable. Either it is on AutoCAD or it is in Photoshop or by hand. Thank you.